say if you listen close enough, you can hear the house breathing at Hollow Creek Manor. It never stops. They didn't mean to end up there. Liam, Haley, Nate, Brooke, and Jenna, college friends on a road trip to nowhere. Kurt Trouble stranded them miles from the nearest town under a bruised, dying sky. That's when they saw it through the trees. An old mansion leaning like a drunk giant, half-eaten by vines and rot. No power, no phone signal. Just a heavy, suffocating silence clinging to the air like wet wool. Think we should keep moving, Jenna said, shivering, but the storm was rolling in. Fat raindrops sizzling on the dirt. They had no choice. They knocked. The door swung open all by itself. Inside smelled like mold, iron, and something worse, something old and sweet like rotten flowers. They set up camp in the main hall. Their flashlights painted twisted shapes on the cracked wallpaper, faded scenes of smiling families playing in fields long since turned to graves as the rain hammered the roof. Liam found an old photo album under a shattered coffee table. Guys, look at this, he said, voice low. Black and white pictures, a family, mother, father, 3 kids, smiling stiffly, except in the last photo where their smiles were gone, replaced by wide, empty mouths, faces blurred as if someone had clawed at the negatives. On the back, someone had scrawled in ink so dark it looked almost alive. Blood-born, blood-sworn, blood-bound. Brooke laughed it off. Clearly just some stupid art project. But that night, they heard it, scratching from inside the walls, like tiny fingers dragging broken nails against the wood. Nate pressed his ear to the paneling. Something was whispering on the other side. He couldn't understand the words, but he felt them sink into him, cold and heavy. Brown to A.M. Jenna woke up gasping. Her mouth tasted like dirt. She staggered to the mirror in a hallway cracked, smeared with grime. In the reflection, she saw herself and something else standing just over her shoulder. It wore a dress, yellowed with age. Its mouth hung open so wide it tore the skin at the corners. Eyes sunken and black. It pointed at her, trembling. "You don't belong here," it rasped. Its voice was like dead leaves dragging across stone. Jenna spun around. Nothing. Only the thick smell of soil and something sharp, like copper. But when she looked back in the mirror, her own reflection was gone. The next morning, Liam was missing. Just a smear of blood on the floor, leading into the wall. No doors. No cracks big enough to crawl through. But he was gone. They tried to leave. Piled into the car, heartbeats loud in their ears. Turned the key, nothing. The hood was stuffed with dead birds, wedged so tight it was like the engine itself had grown tumors. Brooke started to cry. "We're gonna die here," she sobbed. Nate tried the old landline in the study. Dead. But when he held the receiver to his ear, a voice whispered through the static, "Your family now." That's when they found the basement. Or maybe it found them. Rug in the hallway curled up by itself, revealing a trapdoor, stained black around the edges. Something down there was breathing. They had no choice. They had to go down. The stairs moaned under their weight. The air grew colder. Wet. Each step felt like sinking into quicksand. At the bottom, a wide, open space, walls covered in handprints. Tiny ones. Big ones. Some so old the prints seemed baked into the stone. In the center, a chair, high-backed, made of bones tied together with rusty wire. And strapped to the chair was Liam, or what was left of him. His body was deflated like the life had been sucked out. His eyes were wide and glassy, mouth frozen in a silent scream. Brooke screamed and stumbled backwards, straight into the arms of something that wasn't there a second ago. It was the mother from the photo, but her face was wrong. Stretched and sagging, mouth full of blood. "Time to come home," she cooed, stroking Brooke's hair with fingers that left red smears. The walls began to ripple like they were alive. From the ripples came faces, dozens, maybe hundreds, all whispering, all grinning with bloody teeth. Jenna and Nate ran up the stairs, through the hall, but every hallway twisted, bending back on itself. Every door they opened led back to the same room, the basement, the chair, the breathing walls. No matter how far they ran, they ended up at the beginning, because Hollow Creek Manor wasn't a house. It was a trap. Hours later, or maybe days, Jenna stood alone in the ruined kitchen. Blood seeped from the walls. The house whispered to her, "Stay." Outside, she could see Nate standing in the rain, waving her out. His mouth moved, screaming something. Hope flared in her chest. She sprinted for the door, heart pounding so hard she thought it would burst. She reached for the handle and the door slammed shut by itself, snapping her fingers backwards with a sickening crunch. Pain blinded her. When she opened her eyes, Nate was gone. Only his jacket lay on the steps, slowly sinking into the mud. The whispering grew louder. The floorboards buckled, bleeding from long cracks. Hands small, childlike hands clawed their way up from the floor. They reached for Jenna. As they dragged her down into the red, pulsing wood, she heard the final words, "Family is forever," above the house. The storm cleared. The moon shone down, pale and pitiless. From a distance, Hollow Creek Manor looked almost peaceful, silent, waiting. If you pass it on the road someday, don't stop, don't even slow down, because the house is still breathing, and it's always hungry for more blood.